Hey guys, Booligan here with Booligan Airsoft and Airsoft Insider. Today taking an exclusive first look at American Airsoft Factory. As its name implies, it is an American Airsoft manufacturer building specialized AEGs using a very unique firing system, which we'll take a first look at a little bit later on in this video. They are headquartered here in Provo, Utah, and these premium line airsoft guns are really impressing me. Let's take a look and see how they run. While it may look like a normal airsoft AR-15, you're going to start noticing a couple of things off the bat. This is what runs the thing. We'll dig it more into this in just a minute. Let's look at the gun itself. So these are actually manufactured in-house with some parts being outsourced, some parts in the gearbox. We'll talk about those in a minute. But you have a CNC machined receiver, which is aluminum, and then it is fully compatible with normal mil-spec furniture. So you've got, on this one, obviously, you've got MOE, handguard, and a CTR style stock. The pistol grip is their own model, but is obviously, based around a standard M4 style grip. Where you notice this thing's really different is here with the bolt assembly. And when you're using the gun, it's looking very gas blowback rifle in here, correct? But it's not. This is electric. And that's where this thing gets really interesting. Parts compatibility for all you guys like me that cannot keep your gun stock. As I said before, you've got standard AR-15 stocks are able to be mounted. You have a real steel spec delta ring, so you can mount whatever options up front that you like. And they have several different barrel lengths available, whether you want to have a super short little stubby guy or like a standard length, you're good to go with your different options. Now, the gearbox itself is probably the most interesting part about this, in my opinion. As you saw before, it doesn't fire the way you would expect it to. You still do use gears like you normally would. The whole thing is computerized, and this is where some of that outsourcing goes, to have these PC boards printed, because that gets a little prohibitively expensive if you do that in the United States. But obviously, you can see it has full protections for LiPo, and you have options as far as adjusting the rate of fire, different burst modes, and things like that. As it sits right now, you can adjust all of that on the gun just by various trigger pulls. However, they are developing an app. They would like to develop an app so that you can control these things via Bluetooth. Now, how it works and how it fires. You have a piston assembly, which is this black polymer guy here. And if you look inside, there's actually a sear. So when the gun is cocked, it locks the piston back on that sear. So when you're pulling the trigger, you're physically releasing that piston forward. So it'll result in a very crisp trigger pull. And as it goes forward, the whole assembly then cocks it back. So you have good recoil because you have this pretty chunky weight here that moves back and gives you good centralized recoil like you would have on a normal real AR-15. The loading mechanism is proprietary and is very cool setup, because look at this funky loading nozzle up front, you would assume, well, I can't use any of my normal airsoft magazines with this. And you would be wrong. This is actually fully compatible with standard magazines. So you can go ahead and use your normal low caps, your mid caps, your drum mags, your high caps, whatever you normally use to run this thing. So if you already have a vest full of magazines, you don't need to buy all new ones like you would with the Tokyo Marui recoil shock, and it's obviously more cost effective than a gas blowback rifle. The hop-up system inside, obviously, is a flat hop, so it's a flat type bucking and nub, so that you have consistent hop-up force applied to the BB instead of just being focused on one point on top. It gives it a little bit more spread out, which gives you a little bit more consistency and accuracy. Well, enough talking about this thing. Let's put some rounds through one and let's see how it shoots. Okay, just doing a quick low cap test with a hex mag. So you put it in like you normally would, and unlike a normal AEG, you actually do have to cycle that so that it'll function. Let's see how it shoots. and as you can see, locks back on empty. Has good recoil. The recoil comes from the weight in the middle, which is nice, unlike some of the other ones. You know, like the G&G system, which is cool. We all like the G&G system, but all it is a little noisemaker. It doesn't really do anything else. So let's go ahead and let's put in a high cap this time. Let's see if I remember my operating cycles here. So high cap in, just like on a real AR. You need to use that to get the bolt home, and then it is ready to shoot. You can see that good recoil. We're gonna get close so we can see a little bit more of that recoil here. And even with a high cap, the bolt stays back when empty because of that special loading system that they put together. So you can get realism with this just like you would with a real AR-15 for training, but even with cheap mags or normal mags that you would have instead of having to buy something expensive and proprietary. I think we need to do a little bit of slow motion now. So my first impressions on the American Airsoft factory guns are that they are high quality, obviously. You know, made in the USA CNC receiver, CNC machine gearbox, like that's very, very cool. The system, I like it a lot. I like the recoil that it gives you. I like the feeding mechanism because it can give you very realistic functions even with high cap magazines. That's something that really hasn't been done before too successfully. There are just a couple things to iron out with the final models and to get them ready to go, but so far I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing. Now, down to the nitty-gritty on these things. As I mentioned before, these are premium airsoft replicas, and they have a premium price to boot. These models are coming in around $1,200, which puts it in the same ballpark as like a Sistema PTW or a very high-end HPA setup, but obviously gives you a very different firing system and a very different firing experience than either of those platforms. So I'm very excited to see what else the American Airsoft factory is able to produce and how they're able to refine these models and get them in players' hands so we can see what you guys can do with them and make them your own. I think that this is going to be one of the first really successful US airsoft manufacturers. They've got a good product behind them, they've got a good team, and they've got the drive to put the guns in your guys' hands. So stay tuned as we talk about more of these later on, maybe test out one of these in a little bit more detail at a later date. But until then, thanks for watching.